History isn't just about dusty textbooks and dates you can't remember. It's a collection of bizarre, hilarious, and downright strange stories that prove reality is often weirder than fiction. From rampaging rabbits to dancing plagues, the past is full of moments that will make you question everything you thought you knew. Get ready to explore 10 of the most unbelievable facts from history that sound completely made up, but are absolutely true. At number 10, we have the time a military genius was defeated by bunnies. In 1807, Napoleon Bonaparte, the Emperor of France, wanted to celebrate a treaty signing with a grand rabbit hunt. His chief of staff arranged for thousands of rabbits to be collected for the event. But when released, these weren't timid wild rabbits. They were domesticated bunnies who saw Napoleon and his men not as threats, but as waiters bringing dinner. Instead of fleeing, the massive horde charged the emperor, swarming his legs and climbing his jacket. The great commander was forced into a panicked and undignified retreat, outsmarted by a fluffy army. Many people think Cleopatra lived in the time of the ancient pharaohs surrounded by the construction of the pyramids. But our number 9 fact sets the timeline straight. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built around 2560 BC. Cleopatra, however, lived much later, ruling from 51 to 30 BC. This means she was actually closer in time to the 1969 moon landing than she was to the building of the Great Pyramid. The gap between Cleopatra and the pyramids is over 2,500 years, while the gap between her and Neil Armstrong is just over 2,000. Coming in at number 8 is the shortest war in recorded history. In 1896, the British Sultan of Zanzibar died, and his cousin seized power without British approval. The British Empire issued an ultimatum: stand down or face the consequences. The new Sultan refused, believing his palace and small navy could hold off the world's greatest superpower. At 9:02 a.m. on August 27th, British warships opened fire. By 9:40 a.m., the Sultan's palace was in ruins, his navy was at the bottom of the harbor, and the war was over. The whole conflict lasted a mere 38 minutes. At number 7, we have another strange military campaign, the Great Emu War. In 1932, Western Australia was facing a crisis. A massive population of 20,000 emus was migrating through the region, destroying crops and tearing down fences. Desperate farmers, many of them former soldiers, requested military aid. The government dispatched troops armed with 2 Lewis machine guns. What followed was a complete farce. The emus proved to be surprisingly resilient and tactically brilliant, splitting into small groups and running in unpredictable patterns. After a month of comical failure and thousands of wasted bullets, the military withdrew in defeat. The emus had won. Number 6 is the incredible story of Mike the Headless Chicken. In 1945, a farmer named Lloyd Olson went to behead a chicken for dinner. He brought the axe down but missed the jugular vein and left most of the brainstem intact. To his astonishment, the chicken, now named Mike, stood up and started walking around. Mike survived for another 18 months, becoming a national celebrity. His owner fed him a mixture of milk and water with an eyedropper directly into his esophagus and cleared his throat with a syringe. Mike the Headless Chicken proves that sometimes nature is just plain weird. For number 5, we travel back to 1518 in Strasbourg, where a bizarre phenomenon took hold. It started with one woman, Frau Trafia, who began dancing uncontrollably in the street. Within a week, dozens had joined her. Within a month, there were hundreds. Authorities, believing the cure was more dancing, set up stages and hired musicians. But the dancing plague only worsened. People danced for days without rest, and many died from exhaustion, heart attacks, and strokes before the strange epidemic finally subsided. At number 4, we challenge your perception of ancient history. Oxford University is one of the oldest universities in the world, with teaching starting as early as 1096. Its stone halls feel like they've been there forever. But across the Atlantic, an entire civilization was building magnificent cities. The Aztec Empire founded its capital, Tenochtitlan, in 1325. By the time Oxford was a few centuries old, the Aztecs had built a sprawling, sophisticated metropolis that rivaled any in Europe. Oxford is, in fact, older than the Aztec Empire itself. Our number 3 spot is a modern tale with a historical twist. Frederick Bohr, the man who designed the iconic Pringles can, was so proud of his creation that he made a final, unusual request. When he died in 2008, he didn't want his ashes stored in a traditional urn. Instead, following his wishes, his family placed a portion of his cremated remains inside a Pringles can and buried it in his grave. He literally took his greatest invention to the grave. Coming in at number 2 is a papal declaration with catastrophic consequences. In the 13th century, Pope Gregory IX was determined to stamp out heresy. In one of his papal bulls, he declared that black cats were instruments of Satan and associated them with witchcraft. This led to the mass killing of cats across Europe. The unfortunate side effect: with fewer feline predators, the rat population exploded. This thriving rodent population, carrying fleas, helped spread the bubonic plague, or Black Death, which would go on to devastate the continent a century later. And finally, at number 1, a fact about ancient hygiene that might surprise you. While we think of historical peoples as having poor dental health,